Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. Sit back, relax, and stay sinful. Story number 1. My name is Will and I'm 24 years old. This story happened about a year ago. Myself and 2 friends of mine, Joe and Madison, went on a vacation together in Spain near the beach. During our stay, we saw there was a dock nearby. At this dock, you could hire a boat for a few nights and also do some scuba diving. We thought it would be a good idea, so we hired ourselves a boat. It wasn't anything special, but it was still a decent boat with a cabin that had 4 bunks. On our first day out on the boat, Joe and Madison decided to do a little scuba diving, as they've done it before. I, on the other hand, didn't want to, as I'm not the best swimmer. As Joe and Madison were scuba diving, I sat on the edge of the boat and put my feet in the water and just enjoyed the sun. I also put my earplugs in and watched a few videos on my phone. About 5 minutes had passed and I heard someone behind me climb out of the water onto the boat and head into the cabin. I assumed it was one of my friends grabbing a drink or a towel. After that, Madison popped up out of the water, so it must have been Joe that climbed back in the boat, I thought. I asked her how the scuba diving was and if she saw anything interesting. She told me she hadn't yet, and then Joe popped up out of the water. I looked confused and said, "I thought you were in the boat, Joe." "No, I've been in the water this entire time with Madison," he replied. "But I heard someone get on the boat and I explained it to them. They shrugged it off, saying it was probably just the water hitting the boat or something." I know I had my earplugs in, but I could still hear what was around me, as they didn't have the volume up very loud. But I did dismiss it. Maybe I didn't hear what I thought. Tried to think rationally that it was just the boat moving. That night we had a barbecue and some beers, and even tried to catch a few fish. We decided to call it a night somewhere around 12:30 a.m. I'm not sure what time it was in the night, but at some point I woke up to use the bathroom. Before heading back to my bunk, a man ran past me and jumped into the water. I laughed and said, "Joe, what are you doing?" At that point, Madison walked behind me and asked me what was going on. I told her I think Joe is still drunk trying to catch fish. Madison then gave me a very confused and worried look. I asked her what was wrong. She said Joe was in the bathroom, and he came out at that point asking what we were all up for. "Wait, then who's that in the water?" Madison asked. We all looked out at the man. It was too dark to see anything clearly, but from the light of the moon you could see someone floating in the water, staring back at us. It wasn't long, however, before the head descended under the water. That confirmed what I thought earlier. I did hear someone climb onto the boat. We think he was hiding under a hatch in a crawl space. None of us felt safe and wanted to sleep on the boat, so we docked up and went back to the hotel where we were all staying at originally. The rest of the vacation was fine though. We still managed to enjoy our time there. About a week after returning home, I get a text one evening from an unknown number. It read, "You talk in your sleep." There was a picture attached to it. It was of me sleeping in the bunk on the boat. I want to believe it was my friends playing a joke on me, but in reality I know it was that man who creeped into our boat that day. Story number 2. My name is Charlie. I'm 24 years old and this story happened this last summer. My friend Neil invited me to spend time with him and some mutual friends of ours for a weekend in Neil's parents' beach house. The back of his house was connected right to the water, so he basically had the sea as his backyard. It was very amazing. Neil, myself, and a group of our friends decided to throw a party. We were hanging out drinking beers and having a barbecue. I'm not much of a drinker, so I just stuck with Coca-Cola. It was around 2 a.m. I think when I was still awake on the couch. Everyone else at the party was either passed out or had went home. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to take a midnight swim in the ocean. I ran off the deck and dove into the water. Around the same time I heard another splash. I assumed someone had the same idea as me. However, when I looked around, I couldn't see anyone in the water. I even said, "Hello?" I never got an answer. I brushed it off and carried on swimming. One of my friends came out, Maggie. Her and I were talking, and at one point she took a picture of me in the water. She was able to take the photo clearly because the beach house had a security light and was always on when people were outside. After a little while, I decided to get out because I was getting cold, and Maggie and I headed inside. Just as I got out of the water, though, I heard what sounded like someone else getting out. I stopped and turned around to face the sea. I couldn't see anyone. "Did you hear that?" I asked. "Hear what?" Maggie replied. I told her that I thought I heard someone with me in the water, but she just shrugged it off. Once inside, I watched a little TV for 30 minutes, tried to sleep again. The next evening, we threw another party, ordered a load of pizzas and had some more beers. Unfortunately, that same night around 1 or 2 in the morning, I struggled to fall asleep, so I went out and took another swim in the sea. As I was swimming, I swore I could feel something brush against me. It didn't feel natural like a bit of seaweed or jellyfish. It felt intentional. The next thing I knew, I was suddenly being dragged down under the water. Something was clawing and gripping my leg. I was screaming, thinking I was about to drown and be killed. I kicked as much as I could. Thankfully, whatever was pulling me down let go. I got out of the ocean and onto the deck, gasping for air. I don't know why, but I never said anything to anyone. I think I was in so much shock that I didn't know what to do. I took a shower and made some tea to try and calm myself down. As I was in the shower, my leg started hurting. I looked down and saw it was bleeding with 5 long cuts going down my leg. The next day, I said goodbye to Neil and a few other friends that were still at the beach house and headed home. The whole time, I kept trying to figure out what exactly happened. I kept trying to rationalize and tell myself it was a rock I was unaware of, or some kind of sea creature. That was until about 2 weeks later, my friend Maggie texted me the photo she took of me in the water the first night. It took a while to notice, but after some close inspection, I noticed I was not alone in the water. There was something with me. I couldn't describe in detail what I saw, but there was a very, very dark figure just next to me and below the surface of the water. The only thing that I could see clearly was the figure had very bright red eyes. There was something in the water. It must have been what I was hearing and what pulled me under, trying to kill me. I haven't been in the ocean since then, and I certainly don't plan on going again anytime soon. Story number 3. My name is Jeremy. I'm 28 years old, and this story happened to me about 3 weeks ago. My favorite hobby is scuba diving, and most of my vacations are planned around that. I went out to the ocean with a couple other people on a boat for hire. They take people out to sea and let you scuba dive. On the boat, it was me, 2 middle-aged couples, and a group of 3 friends. It seemed like it was their first time scuba diving, so the instructor was going through the instructions and safety procedures. As for me, I was experienced, so I dove in first alone. We really weren't that far out to sea, as you could still dive to the bottom. There were a few old boats that had been there for a while, rotted away, along with other parts of wreckage. The first thing I wanted to check out was the biggest boat, as it looked most exciting to explore. I swam inside the boat, and as you'd expect, it was mostly deteriorated. I then swam down into the cabin area of the boat. It took a second, but I saw something in the corner. It was one of those old copperhead diving suits. It looked kind of creepy at first because it startled me slightly, and I was scared there was going to be a dead body inside. It was slightly propped up on the seat, so it was hard to tell. I was curious to find out if someone was in there. I pulled the helmet off, and to my relief, there was no one inside. I thought the copperhead diving suit was awesome, and I wanted to take it with me. However, before we went out to sea, everybody had to sign an agreement that whatever we found would not be taken with. As an avid diver, I respect the rules and agreements. At this point, I put the helmet back on the suit, and carried on exploring the rest of the boat. I swam further down into the boat, where there was a crawl space. The crawl space was ripped open and I found some old jewelry, pictures, and a few other bits of broken furniture. I found a picture that stood out from the rest. It was of a couple that took a short selfie. That wasn't the intriguing part. The intriguing part was there was something in the background. Someone in the background, standing on the boat behind them, and they were wearing an old scuba diving suit, just like the one I found. The weird thing is, this was the only picture that wasn't framed. It gets weirder. Once I swam back up into the cabin section, the copperhead suit was gone. Before coming out, I always get a little bit of information on the sites we're about to explore. Not a real deep search, just basic information. However, I was so weirded out of what I had found. When I resurfaced, I asked the instructor on the boat if he had any idea what caused their boats to sink. He told me they don't know. Family members of the reported missing persons said they were out on their boat and never returned. The sunken boat was discovered sometime later. Still remains a mystery. This experience hasn't left my mind once. I'm 100% sure of what I saw. I think whoever or whatever was in that copperhead suit was responsible for the disappearances of the couple of the sunken boat, and that photo I found was their last moments alive. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. Email all of your true scary stories to thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. Keep sending the Halloween stories as well. I've received quite a few so far, and I'm really pleased with all of them. Thank you guys for taking the time to do that. Till we meet again, stay sinful.